Welcome, welcome, welcome to this channel, Baruch Haba B'Shem Yahuwah. Welcome everyone, Baruch to you all, and what a joy that you are listening to this presentation, this in-depth study. Today I'm going to do chapter 7 from the in-depth study series named Authority and Submission. And in this in-depth study series you can get more information about what it means, authority, what is it actually, and what does it mean to be submissive, and what does submission mean, and what does it mean to be submissive to the will of the Most High Yahuwah Elohim, Almighty Kadash One. Alright. Chapter 7, also known as Part 7, is named Yahuwah's intends that man submit to representative authority. And the scriptures that you can read are Romans chapter 13 verse 1, 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 13 and 14, Ephesians 5 verse 22 to 24, and chapter 6 verse 1 to 3, Colossians 3 verse 18 and verse 20, as well as chapter 22 verse 1. Or better said, verse 22. And then 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 12 and 13, 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 17, 1 Peter again chapter 5 verse 5, 1 Corinthians 16 verse 15 and 16. And I'm going to do something. The Most High Yahuwah established systems of authority. And this, I think, is a very important part, because we are so unaware of what it means to be under authority of the Most High Yah. In the world, in the universe, the Most High Yahuwah is the source of all authorities. All authorities on earth are set up by Him. As such, they represent Yahuwah's authority and even possess Yahuwah's authority. Yahuwah Himself has set up systems of authority for His expression. So, that when man meets these authorities, he will meet Yahuwah the Most High Himself. So this is already a very interesting opening here. When the presence of the Most High Yahuwah is available, man can know Yahuwah through His presence. When the presence of Yahuwah is absent, man can meet Yahuwah the Most High by meeting His authority. In the Garden of Eden, when Yahuwah's presence was there, man could know Yahuwah the Most High. When Yahuwah was not present, man could remind himself of Yahuwah's commandment, which was the prohibition concerning the eating of the fruit. This was another way for man to know the Most High Yah. Wait a minute. It is not often that man meets Yahuwah in the world. This, of course, does not include the fact that in the assembly, when man lives in the spirit, he can contact Yahuwah all the time. Yahuwah's manifestation is seen most frequently in his commandments. So his commandments are actually a way of authority. If you obey his commandments, and that is the lack of knowledge that people have and that they do not bring over to others, is that the 10 Commandments are not just a teaching in how to learn to love Yahuwah, but also it is keeping yourself to his authority. It is a representation of his authority. Because the first 4 commandments are all about learning to love the Most High Yahuwah, and the other 6 are all about learning to love one another. But in total, the 10 Commandments are again a representation of his authority. Only the foolish vine dressers need the personal appearance of the owner of the vineyard. In reality, the servants and the owner's son were enough to represent him. Mark chapter 12 verse 1 to 9. Some are set up by the Most High Yahuwah to give commands and to be authorities for the Most High Yahuwah. All those in authority are ordained by the Most High Yah. Hence all authorities that Yahuwah has set up should be honored. Today, Yahuwah has entrusted authority to man with all consequences. After entrusting men with authority, men on earth have been set up by Yahuwah to manifest his authority. Well, as we all can see, the one and only authority humanity is listening to is the wrong one. Because everyone, the majority better said, of the human population is in service of the authority of Hashatan, the father of lies, not Yahuwah. If we want to learn submission to the Most High Yahuwah, we should know to whom the authority of Yahuwah is entrusted. If we understand Yahuwah's authority as being only in himself, it is very likely that we will offend Yahuwah's authority more than half of the time. How many people are there in whom we see Yahuwah's authority reflected? There is no such thing as making a choice between Yahuwah's direct authority and his deputy authority. Not only do we have to submit to Yahuwah's direct authority, we also have to submit ourselves to his deputy authority. This is the person on which Yahuwah has laid a piece of his own authority upon that person. because there is no authority that is not from Yahuwah. Concerning earthly authority, Paul gave not only a positive word about submission, but also a negative warning that resisting authority is the same as resisting Yahuwah's personal commandment. Romans chapter 13 verse 1. For man to reject Yahuwah's deputy authority is for him to reject Yahuwah's own authority. That is why Adam and Eve got this tremendous punishment. They were not only breaking one commandment, and not just one, several commandments, because actually if you break one commandment, you break them all. So they were not only breaking the commandments of Yahuwah, but they also were rebelling against his authority. And she, Eve, was rebelling against the authority that Adam got from Yahuwah. So she was double rebelling. That is why the punishment was so tremendously heavy on them. In the book of scriptures, authority bears only one nature. There is no authority that is not of Yahuwah. To resist authority is to resist Yahuwah. Yahuwah will not overlook this. No, he doesn't. We see that with the consequences of even Adam. If she wouldn't be giving in to the lure of Gadriel, because that was actually the one that lured her into the mistake that she made, then we wouldn't have had this whole downfall. And if Adam would have corrected her on time, so if Adam had used the authority that was given to him by Yahuwah and had corrected Eve, then both wouldn't have had this whole downfall, and Yahuwah's creation didn't came in such a downfall, because it's not only man, it's also nature and animals, people, that came into this downfall too. They took the entire creation of Yahuwah into a downfall. Because animals could speak. Now animals can't speak. They can only say woof woof, meow meow. And then we need to know what they're saying. And thankfully many animals have become so handy in letting know what they want, what their needs are, and how they want to have their needs fulfilled. Generation after generation they have learned how to talk to humans, but actually they were speaking in the same tongue. They were speaking with us. There is no authority that is not of Yahuwah. To resist authority is to resist Yahuwah. Yahuwah will not overlook this. Those who oppose will receive to themselves judgment. It is impossible for us to rebel without being punished. Hence, for men to resist authority is to incur death. In the matter of authority, there is no choice. So, if we go look at how the world is today and how many people refuse to listen simply to their employer. At the time of Adam, Yahuwah committed governmental authority to man and charged him to rule the earth. Genesis 1 verse 28. At that time, man ruled only the animals, and nature. It was not until the time of the flood that Yahuwah entrusted to Noah the governmental authority to rule over man. And again, everything went into a big pan of soup. Because Noah did also his mistakes, unfortunately, and one of his sons too. So, there the authority of Yahuwah was rapidly thrown out of the window. And again, the same mistake man made. And again, man couldn't bear the authority that Yahuwah laid upon them. Though I also think that because you can read that eventually Noah became drunk because he started to do a vineyard, and then he started to brew his own wine and became drunk. Well, that is actually a violation and breaking also of a command. But then one of the sons, Ham in this case, broke also a command and thus wasn't obedient to Yahuwah's authority either, that was placed on his father that became a deputy authority figure. And so again, man didn't obey Yahuwah's authority. So this says a lot about the fact how rebellious and how deep the root of rebellion is in man, in mankind. Because every time as soon as we need to submit ourselves to authority, we do everything to not to be so. But I think in the case of Noah, to come back on that, I think that whole drunkenness was also arranged situation by Yahuwah himself to see which of the sons were trustable, and to see on which sons he could possibly in near future build on, or could place into a specific type of functions and so on. So with this, Yahuwah saw, okay, Ham not suitable, but Shem and Japheth, yeah, okay, maybe I can do something with them or place them into a position or function that suits them. But eventually Japheth also lost track during the course of life. So it is interesting to see the issue we have with authority, and especially authority towards Yahuwah. We have much difficulty in being submissive to the authority of the Most High Yahuwah. On the other hand, if we look at the world nowadays, we are extremely submissive to the authority coming from Hashatan, the father of lies. So it is an upside down thing. He said, Yahuwah said, whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. From that time on, Genesis 9 verse 6, from that time on, Yahuwah committed to man the authority. He is constantly trying to give us authority, and time after time after time we fail. And that's the red line in all these 66 books and apocryphal books. Because what is the main headline in the entire history of the Israelites? But also actually of other nations too. Not being able to be submissive to Yahuwah's authority and being submissive to those people whom are appointed by Yahuwah himself, on whom he has laid a piece of his authority. Because as soon as the house of Yisrael got its right king, its right sovereign, and that sovereign was able to, get everything in alignment, and everyone doing what everyone needed to do, then everything went well. But as soon as the sovereign died, what did the majority of the house of Yisrael do? Went astray. Started to do idolatry, started to do worship false mighty ones, started to do everything. And I do not want to say all of them. There have always been a sort of core in the house of Yisrael that did their uttermost best to keep to the commandments, to keep to the authority, to keep themselves in alignment with the authority of Yahuwah. But the majority went astray time after time. King David was able to rule the whole house. But when he died, when his son took over, for a short while it went okay, but afterwards when he got corrupted, the whole house did his own thing again. So it is an issue we have. From the time of Noah, the Most High Yahuwah began to set up governments, and he put men under governments. There is nothing wrong with governments. People have a negative connotation with the word government. And then they say, yeah, to govern means to rule over you. Yeah, but you have that in two ways. Now it is being done in a negative way. But ruling over someone in the way Yahuwah, the Most High, has pointed out for us, that is a different type of ruling. That is not a type of ruling, I am a sovereign and I know it better and I stand above everyone and I will say it. And you have to do what you have to, what I say to you, what you have to do. So there is a different type of ruling in it. You have a ruling as now that you don't have anything, that all of a sudden you need to do this. But you also have a type of ruling that says, okay, in about a few months we are going to change this and this and this, and that means that everyone has to follow according, because the Most High Yah has said this and this and this, and we have to do what the Most High Yah says. So governments are a reflection, projection, you can say, are the matter form of the governments that are in the Shamayim. In the Shamayim there are also governments, institutions and whatever. A law system, a court system, everything is there too. Everything we see on earth is there in the Shamayim. So all those people who do not believe in heavenly courts, wake up, because from where do you think that the earthly courts are coming from? They are the matter manifested version of the heavenly courts. In Exodus 20, after Yahuwah's people left Egypt and had come to the wilderness, the 10 Commandments were given. Following that, there were the ordinances concerning the people's conduct. Among these ordinances, one says, "Thou shalt not curse the ruler of thy people." Oh. That's not mentioned in the modern This proves that the Most High Yahuwah had placed them under governmental authorities. Therefore, even in the time of Moshe, we can already see that the Israelites' resistance to authority was their resistance toward the Most High Yah. All of the nations on the earth have rulers. the only family that was so stiff-necked and stubborn and didn't want to listen to their ruler, which was the heavenly ruler, were the Israelites. Although they do not believe in Yahuwah, the Most High, and although their entire kingdoms are under Satan, the principle of authority is still there, having been established by Yahuwah. The kingdom of Yisrael was Yahuwah's kingdom. King David, of course, was set up by the Most High Yah. But the king of Persia was also set up by the Most High Yah. Read this in Yeshayahu or Isaiah chapter 45 verse 1. When the master was on the earth, he likewise submitted to the government and to the authority of the high priest. This is why the master paid the tax, and master means, in this case, Master Yahusha paid the tax, and why he said that what belongs to Caesar should be rendered to Caesar. When he was judged by the high priest, who adjured him by Yahuwah, the Most High, he had to obey. The Master Yahusha recognized them as earthly authorities. He never tried to stir up a revolution. In Romans 13 verse 4, Paul showed us that all rulers are the servants of the Most High Yah. Some are still, and many have been sunken deep due to the fact that they went into bed with Satan's mistresses. At that time, the government was in the hand of the Romans. Humanly speaking, there is no need to submit to foreign aggressors. But Paul did not tell us to rebel against a foreign government. Not only do we have to submit to our own nation and to our own race, but we have also to submit to the government wherever we are as well. I cannot disobey a local government just because I am of another nationality. The law is not a terror to the good, but to the evil, to protect us against evil, no matter how different the laws of the various nations are. But nowadays we must come to the conclusion that the law system is not there anymore to protect us from evil, and that means those who commit evil, but they are there now to protect evil from those who are doing good, and to oppress everyone. So that is actually the meaning also from the whole law system. The law system is actually mentioned to protect us, those who are doing righteousness, to protect us against those who are trying to do evil upon us. So there, in first case, the things were eventually set up as a positive thing, but due to the infiltration eventually that has been taken place, things got evil and darkened and highly corrupted. So no matter how different the laws of various nations are, so the law is not a terror to the good but to the evil. No matter how different the laws of the various nations are, they are all from the law of the one and only Most High Yahuwah. Their basic principle is still the rewarding of good and the punishing of evil. That's exactly how it goes in the Shamayim, in the heavens. Do you truly think and believe that everything in the heavens is smoothly going? Not always. Sometimes they have their issues too. And that's why they have these court systems and governments and so on, to make sure that the moments of issues are being reduced to zero. Or better said, to less. Every government has its laws, and the function of the government is to maintain and execute the laws so that the good would be rewarded and the evil would be punished. They do not bear the sword in vain. Although there are governments that uphold evil and suppress good, they must of necessity change the truth, calling the evil good and the good evil. So, I'm going to read this again. Although there are governments that uphold evil and suppress good, they must of necessity change the truth, calling the evil good and the good evil. At any rate, they cannot say that they are upholding such and such because they are evil, or that they are punishing such and such because they are good. To this day, all governments uphold the principle of the reward of good and the principle of evil. The principle is irrevocable. For this reason, we say that the governments still adhere to Yahuwah's principle. One day, when the lawless one, the anti-Mashiach, appears, he will overturn all authorities. And what does this mean? That means that everything that is good becomes evil, and everything that is evil becomes good, and all that is evil shall not be punished, but all that is good shall be punished. That will be the end of the world. By then the good will indeed be taken as evil and the evil as good. So if you are doing exactly, what Yahuwah wants, then you will be seen by the system as evil. Because you are obeying the 10 Commandments, you are doing Yahuwah's feasts, you are doing everything Yahuwah is asking you to do. So, and then it will be seen as evil. The good will be killed and the evil will rule. There are 4 signs of submission to authority on earth. Rendering. 1. Tax, to whom tax is due. 2. Custom, to whom custom is due. 3. Fear, to whom fear is due. And 4. Honor, to whom honor is due. For a believer, abiding by the law is not something done out of fear of punishment, but out of the exercise of his conscience before the Most High Yahuwah. For conscience. If he does not submit, his conscience will be condemned. This is why we have to learn to submit to our local government. Yahuwah's children cannot criticize or revile the government lightly. Even the policeman on the street is a by Yahuwah established authority. He is Yahuwah's officer, attending constantly to this very thing. Well, probably if you are telling this to a police officer at your street, he will look at you as if you are crazy, because he doesn't see it like that. What should our attitude be when it comes to paying taxes and revenue? Do we consider our local government as Yahuwah's authority? Are we submissive to it? If man has not met authority, he cannot submit. Well, we know all that the local governments also have been highly infiltrated and have become corrupted also. So it's going to start more and more difficult to submit yourself and be submissive to authorities that have been infiltrated with evil and corruption and darkness. So that is something to go into prayer about. The more you ask such a one to submit, the harder it is for him to do so. 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 10 refers to those who go after the flesh in the lust for defilement and despise daring and self-willed. They do not tremble while reviling dignities. There are many whose power has been lost and whose life has drained away through reviling. Men must not fall into anarchy. Yeah, well, look at this world, what we are in. What is it what we see? Anarchy. The way that Yahuwah the Most High deals with an unrighteous government is not our concern. So the way that Yahuwah deals with an unrighteous government is not of our concern. Of course, when we pray for the Most High Yah to execute his righteousness, it is a different matter. But for us, any disobedience to authority is disobedience to Yahuwah's authority. If we are not submissive, we are actually strengthening the principle of the anti-Mashiach. When the mystery of lawlessness operates, are we its restraints? Or are we its helpers? In the family, Yahuwah has established his authority in the family. Many children of the Most High Yah do not pay enough attention to the matter of the family. But in the epistles, especially in the Ephesians and Colossians, the two books with the highest spirituality, the matter of the family is not overlooked. In particular, they speak of submission in the family. Neglect of this matter will cause trouble in Yahuwah's service. 1 Timothy and Titus are books on work. But they also speak of the family, lest the family affect the work. 1 Peter is a book particularly on the kingdom. And in this book we see that to rebel against authority in the family is to rebel against the kingdom. Wow! This is something to go deeper into. So rebel against authority in the family is to rebel against the kingdom. Wow! When man meets authority, family problems decrease. So, if man is not doing authority, is not taking up the authority that is laid upon his shoulders in the family, then what happens? You get disorder in the family. Yahuwah, the Most High, establishes the husband as the deputy authority of Mashiach Yahusha, and the wife as the representation of the assembly. Wow! Because a family is an assembly. That is why it is being said in scriptures that you only can take a position in the church, so to speak, if you are able to have your home assembly in order. If you can run your home assembly in accordance to the will of the Most High Yahuwah, then you also can be in a position of head in a institution, government, or what is called church. Unless the wife sees the authority that the husband represents, the authority that Yahuwah has set up, it is difficult for her to submit. She has to see that it is not a matter of her husband, but a matter of Yahuwah's authority. Titus 2 verse 5 says, young women should be subject to their own husbands. And this is so highly misunderstood. And this is exactly the sentence on which entire feministic movement, I think, has been started. Not only to make sure that most families would collapse and that the family unit eventually would completely come to a full breakdown, but also this. That young women that need to be, or actually women need to be subjected to their own husbands. That the word of the Most High Yahuwah would not be blasphemed. 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 1 says, in like manner, wives, be subjected to your own husbands, that even if any disobey the word, they will be gained without the word through the manner of life of their wives. Verses 5 and 6 say, for in this manner formerly the holy women also who hoped in Yahuwah the Most High adorned themselves, being subject to their own husbands. And as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him master. And that's what you see constant in the Old Testament. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 1 to 3 says, "Children, obey your parents in the Most High Yahuwah, for this is right. Honor your father and your mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, that it may be well with you, and that you may live a long life on the earth." Of the 10 commandments, this one has special reward. When a man honors his parents, he will be blessed and live long on the earth. Many probably die early because they do not honor their parents. Wow! This gives another perspective on dying young, but also on illnesses. Could it be that some illnesses are a direct punishment for what you have done? It gives a whole new in-depth perception, a whole new in-depth understanding, to sickness also. So could it be that sometimes you get ill as a punishment because you have done something that was not in alignment with the will of the Most High Yah? Some brothers are at odds with their parents, hence they are often sick. Not until they become obedient will they become well. So Colossians 3 verse 20 says, "Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well-pleasing in the Most High Yah." Well, go look at most children these days. There are not many children who obey their parents. Better said, many children are actually behaving as if they are the parents, and the parents have become children. And they are ruling their parents instead of that the parents have authority over them. And actually, in many cases, you see that the man has not the authority in the home as he needs to have. It is turned around. The woman has the authority. We have to submit ourselves to our parents' authority. This also requires that we first see Yahuwah's authority. Servants should obey their masters, even as they obey the master. In their attitude, they should be in fear and trembling, not being deceitful or crafty, rendering only eye service, lip service, or doing things that are gaining their personal service to self-agenda. Whether one sees his master or not, he has to serve just the same. He should not serve only with the sphere of his master's side. So this means that you also have to be in fear and trembling toward your parents, because they are your master. But should rather serve according to the honesty in the heart, not as unto men, but as unto the Master. For we serve in the Master Mashiach Yahusha. So 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 1 says, as many as are slaves under the yoke should regard their own masters as worthy of all honor, lest the name of the Most High Yahuwah and our teaching be blasphemed. And Titus chapter 2 verse 9 and 10 says, exhort slaves to be subject to their own masters in all things, to be well-pleasing, not contradicting, not pilfering, but showing all good faithfulness, that they may adorn the teaching of our Savior, Yahuwah Elohim, in all things. You must first uphold the master's authority yourself, and then others will uphold the master's authority which is with you. When Paul and Peter said these words, they were still under the Roman Empire, where slave trading was very prevalent. Whether or not the system of slavery is right is one thing, but Yahuwah ordains that slaves should obey their masters. Some brothers are all right. We go to the chapter in the church. So the Most High Yahuwah has appointed authorities also in the assembly, known as church. They are the elders who take the lead well, and those who labor in word and teaching. Yahuwah the Most High commands that all should submit to them. In addition, all the younger ones should submit to the older ones. 1 Peter 5 verse 5 says, in like manner, younger men be subjected to elders. Chapter 5 speaks of those who are elderly in age, while in 1 Corinthians chapter 16 verse 15 it speaks of the household of Stephanas as the first fruits of Achaia, indicating seniority in the order of salvation. And they have set themselves to minister to the saints. Stephanas was exceedingly humble and had set himself to minister to the saints. In verse 16, the apostle further said, you also be subjected to such ones, and to everyone co-working and laboring. In the assembly, the woman also has to submit to the man. 1 Corinthians 11 verse 3 says, but I want you to know that Mashiach Yahusha is the head of every man, and the man is the head of the woman. And Yahuwah the Most High is the head of Mashiach Yahusha. So the Most High Yahuwah appointed man to be the authority as a type of Mashiach, and the woman to submit as a type of the assembly. For this reason, the woman should have authority on her head for the sake of the angels. Furthermore, the woman must submit to her husband. 1 Corinthians 14 verse 34 says, the woman, or women should be silent in the assemblies or churches, for they are not permitted to speak, but they should be subject, even as the law also says. If there is anything that they want to learn, they can ask their husbands at home. Some sisters may ask, what if my husband does not know? And I want to say here something, because I think I'm getting here sort of I feel there is a twist going on in the words. And I think that those whom have authorized the book of scriptures, that they have authorized this sentence. And I think if we eventually get the original book of scriptures in our hands without any authorization, so the real book, then probably this sentence is, I think, completely differently explained. So, because it sounds as if the women have no say in anything, but that's not true, because Yahuwah also uses women tremendously for things. Look at Deborah, and Ruth, and many. There are many women in scripture mentioned, not that many, but I think there are many women through whom Yahuwah did tremendous work. But I think there are just more than the few that are being mentioned. If Yahuwah tells you to ask, just go and ask. If you keep asking, your husband will know after a period of time, because he is being asked. He will have to seek to understand in order to answer. In this way, you help yourself and you help your husband as well. 1 Timothy 2 verse 11 also speaks of women learning in quietness in all subjection. Women are not permitted to exercise authority over a man, for Adam was formed first, then Eve. Among Yahuwah's children, everyone should gird himself with humility and should submit one to another. Some like to pretentiously show off their position or authority. This is low and shameful. Not only has Yahuwah set up his deputy authority in the universe, he has also set up his authority in the spiritual world. 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 10 and 11 says, especially those who go after the flesh in the lust for defilement and despise mastership. Daring, self-willed, they do not tremble while reviling dignities, whereas angels, though they are greater in strength and power, do not bring a reviling judgment against them before the Master. Here we have a very important matter. In the spiritual universe there are masterships and dignities, and the Most High Yah has put even angels under them. Although some masters and dignities failed, the angels still dare not revile them today, for these masters and dignities were once their authorities. Today, even though some masters and dignities have fallen, the other angels can only mention the facts. They cannot pass on their judgments. If they add their judgments to the facts, they are reviling. Jude 9 says, Michael, the archistrate and chief messenger of Yahuwah the Most High and of Yahuwah's hosts, if they add their judgments to the fact, wait a minute. Oh yeah, when he, sorry, I lost track here. When he contended with the devil and disputed concerning the body of Moshe, did not dare to bring a reviling judgment against him, but said, the master rebuke you. So he is an archistrate Michael, as he prefers to be called, known here as Michael, who is the righteous and Kadosh chief messenger of the Most High Yahuwah. And he's also the chief of all the hosts. So if he would revile, then that would have a tremendous consequence on the entire hosts. At one time, Yahuwah set up Satan to be the head of the archangels. As one of the archangels, Michael was under Satan's authority at one time. One day Moshe will resurrect. Perhaps it will be on the Mount of Transfiguration. Michael, the chief archistrate, or the archistrate and chief messenger actually, Michael followed Yahuwah's command to look for the body of Moshe, but Satan deterred him. Michael could have countered the rebellious spirit with a rebellious spirit. He could have rebuked Satan in a flagrant way, but Michael did not. Michael dared not to do this. He only said, the master rebuke you. It is different with human beings. Yahuwah, the Most High, never put human beings under Satan. We have fallen under his power. We were never put under his authority. The same principle applies to David. Once he was under Saul, the deputy authority of Yahuwah. Therefore, he dared not overturn Saul's former authority. How dignified is a deputy authority in spiritual matters! It cannot be reviled. The ones who revile will lose their spiritual power. And that has happened with that fallen cherubim, who's now called the father of lies. Once you touch authority, you will see Yahuwah's authority wherever you go. The first question you should ask is to whom you should submit and to whose word you have to listen to. A believer should have two kinds of feelings. One is the feeling of sin and the other is the feeling of authority. When two brothers are together discussing or considering ideas, both can speak. But when the time of decision comes, one makes the judgment. Acts 15 records a big conference. Everyone, whether old or young, was free to rise up and to speak. Every brother could speak. Later Peter and Paul spoke. Then James made the decision. Peter and Paul gave the facts. James made the decision. There was a lining up even among the elders and disciples. Paul said that he was the least among the disciples. 1 Corinthians 15 verse 9. There is even a distinction between great and small among the disciples. This is not a matter of someone lining us up. Rather, it involves knowing our proper position. This is the most beautiful testimony and the most wonderful picture. This makes Satan tremble, and this will bring down his kingdom. When we all take the way of submission, Yahuwah will judge the world. We should have confidence in submitting to the delegated authority. What a dangerous risk it is for Yahuwah the Most High to set up authorities for himself. How much he suffers if the delegated authorities he has set up wrongly represent him. But Yahuwah the Most High is confident in the authority that he establishes. It is much easier for us to be confident in submitting to representative authorities than for Yahuwah the Most High to be confident in setting them up. Since Yahuwah the Most High is confident in handing over authority to man, should we not be confident in submitting to man? So where is this confidence? Where has this been gone to? Because we lost confidence. And I think we lost confidence in submitting to others due to the fact that others then abuse that. So we have a history of abuse, and thus that's what I have as idea right now, and that makes also that we are not willing to submit ourselves anymore. Because as soon as we do, and then we do not know if that person is really using his authority in the right way. Because many misuse the position of authority for their own personal service to self agenda. We should be confident in submitting to the authority which Yahuwah the Most High is confident in establishing. So if there is a mistake, it is not our mistake. Well, that is, I think, also the issue here. If people are making a mistake, what is the first thing that they do? They blame it on themselves. It is the mistake of the authority. The Most High Yahuwah says that every person should be subjected to the authorities over him. Romans 13 verse 1. There is more difficulty on Yahuwah's part than on our part. When Yahuwah the Most High trusts men, we can as well. When Yahuwah the Most High is confident about his trust, we should be even more so. But that's the whole point. We have lost trust in each other. Luke 9:48 says, "Whoever receives this little child because of my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me." There is no problem for the Most High Yah to represent the Father, because the Father has entrusted everything to him. Oh, wait a minute. There is no problem for the Master Yahusha to represent the Father, because the Father has entrusted everything to him. So why aren't we trusting? I think it all has to do with the entire amount of history and the things that we have done to one and another, and the fact that we have been completely disconnected. Most of us are still, most of the people, better said, are still disconnected from the Most High Yahuwah. And it is also this disconnection that makes us distrust others too. For us to believe in Him is to believe in the Father. But in the Master's eyes, even a child can represent the Master itself. The Master Yahusha can entrust himself to a child. This is why he said that receiving a little child is to receive the Master. In Luke 10 verse 16, the Master Yahusha sent out the disciples and said, "He who hears you hears me, and he who rejects you rejects me." All of the disciples' words, charges, decisions, and opinions represented the Master Yahusha. The Master Yahusha was so confident that he entrusted all authority to the disciples. Whatever they said in his name, he acknowledged. Therefore, rejecting the disciples was the same as rejecting the Master Yahusha. The Master Yahusha could entrust himself to them with full peace. He did not say that they should be careful in their words, or that they should not blunder in speaking when they went out. The Master Yahusha was not concerned at all with what would happen if they blundered. The Master Yahusha had the faith and the courage to hand over authority to the disciples with confidence. But the Yahudim were not like this, or as many think, Jews. They doubted and said, "How can this be? How do I know that all you said is right? We need more considerations." They dared not believe. They were very afraid. Suppose you are working as an executive in a corporation and you send one out saying, "Do your best. Whatever you do, I will acknowledge." When people listen to you, they are listening to me. If this is the case, you would probably require him to send back a daily report of his work, lest there be any mistake. But the Master can entrust us to be his representatives. What a big trust this is. Since the Master Yahusha trusts his deputy authority so much, we should trust such authority even more. Some may say, what happens if the authority makes mistakes? If Yahuwah dares to trust those who are entrusted as authorities, then we should dare to submit. Whether or not the authority makes mistakes has nothing to do with us. In other words, whether the deputy authority is right or wrong is a matter for which he has to be responsible directly before the master. Those who submit to authority need only to submit absolutely. Even if they make a mistake through submission, the master will not reckon that as sin. The master will hold the deputy authority responsible for that sin. So that is why the punishment was so great on Adam, because Adam was accountable for the sin that Eve did. To disobey is to rebel. For this, the submitting one has to be responsible before the Most High Yahuwah. For this reason, there is no human element involved in submission. If we are only submitting to a person, the meaning of authority is lost. Moreover, since Yahuwah the Most High has already set up his deputy authority, he must maintain this authority. Wow. Whether or not others are right is their business. Whether or not I am right is my business. Everyone has to be responsible to the Master Yahuwah for himself. Rejecting deputy authority being to reject the Most High himself. The whole parable in Luke 20, verse 9 to 16 is on deputy authority. The Most High Yahuwah leased the vineyard to the vine dresser, but he did not come to personally collect the rent. The first, second, and the third time he sent his servants. The fourth time he sent his son. All of these were his representatives. The Most High Yahuwah could have come himself, but instead he sent his representatives. In Yahuwah's eyes, all those who rejected his servants rejected him. We cannot hearken to Yahuwah's word, yet refuse the word of his deputy authority. We have to submit to Yahuwah's authority as well as to his deputy authority, other than in Acts 9 verse 4 to 15, which speaks of Mashiach's direct authority. The Master Yahusha entrusts his authority to deputy authorities in both the Old Testament and the New Testament. One may say that almost all authorities are entrusted to men. Many think that this means submitting to men. But if you have met authority, you will know that this is Yahuwah's deputy authority. There is no need for humility for one to submit to Yahuwah's direct authority, but there must be humility and brokenness for one to submit to the deputy authority. Only by laying the flesh completely aside can one accept and obey the deputy authority. We constantly have to see that Yahuwah does not come personally collect his rent. Yahuwah sends representatives to collect rent. What should we do with Yahuwah? Should we wait for Yahuwah to come personally? When he comes personally, it will not be for rent, but for judgment. The Most High Yahuwah showed Paul, or better said, Yahusha showed Paul at one point that for him to withstand the Master Yahusha was to kick against the goats. Acts 26:14. When Paul saw the light, he saw authority as well. He said, "What shall I do, Master?" This was Paul putting himself directly under the Master's own authority. But then the Master Yahusha placed Paul under his appointed deputy authority. The Master said, "Rise up and enter into the city, and it will be told to you what you must do." This is Acts 9:6. From that time on, Paul knew authority. He did not say, "It is so rare that I meet the Master himself. Let him tell me what to do." At that time, the Master Yahusha placed Paul under a deputy authority. It did not please the Master Yahusha to tell Paul directly. From the time we have believed in the Master Yahusha until now, how many deputy authorities have we submitted to? How many times have we submitted to them? Prior to this, we did not have the light. But today we have to see in a serious way Yahuwah's deputy authority. We have been talking about submission for 5 or 10 years. But how much have we submitted to indirect authorities? What Yahuwah looks at is not his own direct authority. He looks at his established indirect authorities. All those who do not submit to Yahuwah's indirect authorities cannot submit to Yahuwah's direct authorities. For the sake of clarity in explanation, we have differentiated between direct authority and indirect authority. Actually, in Yahuwah's eyes, it is just one authority. We cannot despise authority in the family or in the assembly. We cannot despise any deputy authority. Although Paul was blind, it was as if he were waiting for Ananias with open eyes. When he saw Ananias, it was if he saw the Master Yahusha. When he listened to Ananias, it was as if he was listening to the Master Yahusha himself. The deputy authority involves such serious matters that if you offend him, you get into trouble with the Father, Yahuwah himself. It is impossible for you to reject light from the deputy authority and hope to receive light from the Father himself, Yahuwah. Paul did not say, "Since Cornelius asked for Peter, I also can ask the Most High Yahuwah to send Peter or James. I do not want this little brother Ananias to be my authority." It is impossible for us to reject the deputy authority and to submit to Yahuwah directly. This is because the rejection of deputy authority is a rejection of the Master Yahusha himself. Only foolish ones will want the deputy authority to fail He who dislikes Yahuwah's representative dislikes Yahuwah himself. Man's rebellious nature likes to submit to Yahuwah's direct authority but rejects Yahuwah's appointed deputy authority. So Yahuwah honoring his deputy authority. In the book of Numbers, chapter 30 speaks of a woman's vow. When a woman was young in her father's house, her father had to silently acknowledge the vow before it would become effective. If the father disallowed it, the vow would not stand. If she was married, then the vow had to be silently acknowledged by the husband. If the husband disallowed it, then the vow was annulled. Book of Numbers, chapter 3, verse 8. When the deputy authority consents, the direct authority fulfills it. If the deputy authority disallows it, the direct authority disowns it. Yahuwah the Most High is pleased with having deputy authority. He also honors the deputy authority. When a woman is under the authority of her husband, Yahuwah will not uphold her vow as long as the husband disallows it. Yahuwah only wants her to submit to authority. He also honors the deputy authority. So wow. Yahuwah only wants her to submit to authority, but if the deputy authority is wrong, Yahuwah will deal with him. He will have to bear the iniquity of his wife, and the submitting wife is guiltless. Verse 15. This chapter in the book of Numbers, chapter 3, tells us, or chapter 30, I mean, verse 15. So this chapter in the book of Numbers, chapter 30, tells us that man cannot overstep the deputy authority to submit to the direct authority. Since Yahuwah has handed out his authority, even he himself will not overstep his deputy authority. Even he, Yahuwah himself, is bound by the deputy authority. Yahuwah, the Most High, establishes through the establishment of the deputy authority. And he annuls through the annulling of the deputy authority. Yahuwah the Most High wants to maintain his deputy authority. Therefore, we have only one way with the deputy authority, which is the way of submission. So the whole New Testament upholds deputy authority. Only in Acts chapter 5 verse 29, when the Sanhedrin persecuted Peter by forbidding him to preach in the name of Yahushua Mashiach, and so in the name of Yahuwah, did Peter say it is necessary to obey the Most High Yahuwah rather than man. only when the deputy authority obviously defies Yahuwah's commandment and offends the master's person can we refuse the deputy authority. Hence, this kind of word can only be spoken under such a circumstance. Other than this, we have to submit to the deputy authority in any other circumstance. We cannot be careless. We must not fulfill submission by exercising rebellion. Wow. This is really an interesting chapter and an interesting part with a lot of words of wisdom in it, with a lot of explanation in it, with a lot of information in it. It's a deep message in this one. And I'm going to reread this again. Thank you so much for listening and for being on this channel and for watching this video. Please share it and share all the videos so far uploaded on this channel, as well as the newly in-depth study series, which is a new course I went in. Please share these videos too. Watch these new in-depth study series videos. They are containing a lot of information and a lot of food for your spirit. So I wish you all a Baruch day, and do not forget to praise the Most High Yah. And I say Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Baruch Yahuwah, Baruch Yahuwah, Baruch Yahuwah. See you soon.